Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify Nation. And if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at subnetting and IPv6 network. We'll be discussing subnet using the subnet ID, IPv6 subnetting example, IPv6 subnet allocation, and router configured with IPv6 subnets. This episode is part of my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. What we can do is we can take our network portion. We can take our one giant network, we can break it into smaller networks. We can add security, we can add some efficiencies into that. And what we've done here is we were given 64 bits in our network portion. We're going to take some of those network bits and we're going to put that towards our subnet portion. IP version 6 was designed for subnetting. It has a separate subnet ID. And if you look at the 64 bits, it is 16 bits here that fall right at the end of the 64 bits of our network portion. It's between the global routing prefix and the interface ID, but it is still part of the 64 bits of our network portion. 64 bits of our network portion. It's the last 64 bits. What we do here is we take those last 16 bits and we give them a unique number. Here in this column, as you can see, we start off with 000, then we go 001. Just because we've changed this one bit here, which changed the hexadecimal from 0 to 1, that gives us a unique network. That gives us a smaller network that still allows up to 65,000 hosts per 64 subnets. It's still a lot of networks and devices. In today's world, we don't have a problem with it. The global routing prefix, this portion right here, this is the global routing prefix. That's the same for all subnets. Only the subnet ID here is incremented, is the only one changing. Here's a little example of IP version 6 subnet allocation. We need 5 networks. We need 5 subnets here. And what we have here is we have 4 networks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then our 5th network is the connection between these 2 routers. So we need 5 subnets. And what we do is we take our network address, we take these 16 bits right here, and we increment them to use for our networks. A practice that we see in today's world is not to use the first one, not to use the 000. What we see is to use 001 as the first one. And so that would give us 1 subnet, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that way, when you talk about the first subnet or subnet 1, you can go and easily identify that address by looking at the column here. And that's exactly what we did here in this diagram. The first network here has a 1 right here in our subnet portion. Here for 2, then the example goes over here, shows us 3, 4, and 5 to do that. Personally, what I would do is for this network that goes between our devices, I would either give this to our subnetwork 0 or subnetwork 1, have that be the first one, and then start calling these out over here. I would probably go and assign 0 to this one, and then this would be subnetwork 1, 2, 3, and 4. In my mind, that makes a little bit more sense than what the example has here. But however you do it, however it works for your company, that's the correct way of doing it. Here is some output of a router that's configured with different subnets. And as you can see, we have interface gig 000, gig 001, gig 10. As we look at this, our network portion is the same, but then our subnet portion right here is different. that identifies that as different networks. They can be assigned to different interfaces. They are globally unique, yet only one device in the entire world has this IP address. Because we changed these values right here, it gave us different networks. And that would be one way to help you identify the different networks of your devices. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on subnetting an IPv6 network. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I picked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode on my series on Introduction to Networks for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.